What if one day you woke up and realized the real enemy wasn't out there, but in here, inside your own mind? What if all the years you spent trying to prove yourself were built on illusions you never questioned? What if the strongest men weren't the loudest in the room, but the ones who mastered silence when their soul was screaming? We grow up thinking life is about getting more money, more validation, more control. But few ask, what's the cost of chasing what never really belonged to us in the first place? Here's a simple truth. A man can win every argument, make millions, and be praised by the world, yet still feel empty when he's alone. Because most of us are taught how to look strong, but never how to be strong. We're taught how to compete, but not how to endure. We learn how to react, but never how to master our reactions. Every day, a quiet war begins the moment you open your eyes. The war between the man you are and the man you pretend to be. And in this war, comfort is the enemy, distraction is the weapon, and regret is the final wound. You don't need to shout to win this war. You need silence, self-control, and the courage to confront your own thoughts. Welcome to Book Boost, a place where we don't just motivate, we transform the way you think. If this message hits something deep within you, then you belong here. So, like this video, share it with someone who's still asleep, comment your thoughts, and subscribe so you never walk this journey alone. Please drop down your one thought on believe in yourself in the comments below. We read them, and we grow together. In this video, we will dive deep into 7 life lessons that many men never learn until it's too late. These aren't just lessons, they are awakenings. And they come from centuries of Stoic wisdom, from men like Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca, who faced chaos, loss, and pain, and still found unshakable peace. You don't have to wait for rock bottom. You don't have to lose everything to see clearly. Start with this one decision, to pause, to reflect, and to understand the war within. Let's begin. Most men walk through life believing they are in control of their time, their future, their destiny. We plan, we prepare, we strive. But beneath all of it, there's a truth many discover too late. That control, as we think of it, is often just an illusion. The tighter we hold on, the more life slips through our fingers. And when everything finally falls apart, we're left wondering if we ever had a grip on anything at all. We believe that by controlling our surroundings, we can find peace. That if we just earn more, become stronger, gain status, or manipulate the right circumstances, life will finally give us what we deserve. But the Stoics knew better. They taught that the only thing truly within our control is our own mind, our thoughts, our responses, our judgments. Everything else, our body, reputation, wealth, and even the love of others, is like the wind. It moves as it pleases, and no man can catch it with his hands. Think of how much suffering comes from trying to control things we were never meant to rule. We get angry when someone disrespects us. We feel broken when relationships end. We panic when plans fall apart. But ask yourself, did you ever truly control any of these things? Could you ever guarantee the loyalty of another person? Could you ever promise that success would come just because you worked hard? No. And yet, we bet our happiness on these uncertain things. When a man finally sees this, really sees it, he begins to wake up. He starts to realize that his energy has been spent chasing shadows. He's been trying to shape the world outside, while the world inside of him has been neglected. That inner world, his discipline, his character, his values, that's where true control lives. The rest is theater. It's wind and smoke. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor, faced wars, betrayal, loss, and illness. Yet he wrote in his journal, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." He ruled the greatest empire in the world, yet he knew that all of it could be taken from him in a moment. And he accepted that, not with fear, but with calm, because his peace came not from ruling the world, but from ruling himself. We must ask ourselves, are we building our lives on things we can truly control? Or are we gambling everything on circumstances, people, and outcomes that were never ours to command? So many men waste their youth chasing things, money, power, attention, only to reach their later years filled with regret. Not because they didn't get what they wanted, but because what they wanted never brought them peace. They were never taught that real power is the ability to remain calm when the world isn't. Real strength is walking away from chaos without needing to fix it. Real confidence is saying, let it happen, not because you don't care, but because you've already made peace within. There is a dangerous kind of pride in believing we can control everything. That pride blinds us. It makes us think we are the center of the universe, and everything should move according to our will. But life doesn't owe us agreement. The world does not move to our rhythm. If anything, the world tests us, constantly, not to see if we can control it, but to see if we can stay grounded when we can't. There is peace in surrender, not in giving up, but in letting go of what isn't ours. When we stop trying to change people, to predict the future, to force outcomes, something unexpected happens. We begin to breathe again. We start focusing on our actions, our values, and our reactions. And in doing so, we become unshakable. Not because life stopped being hard, but because we stopped needing it to be easy. Epictetus, once a slave, said, "Some things are in our control and others not." He didn't just say this as an idea, he lived it. He had no wealth, no freedom, and no certainty. Yet he spoke like a king. Why? Because he ruled over his mind. He didn't let the world determine his worth. And neither should we. Think about your past week. How many moments did you lose because you were upset about something you couldn't control? A delay, a harsh word, a failed plan. And what did all that stress give you in return? Nothing but anxiety and exhaustion. Now imagine if you had met those moments with calm, not because you liked them, but because you accepted them. How different would your life be? Control is not about domination. It's not about forcing others to obey or circumstances to match your will. Control, in its truest form, is about mastery of the self. Can you stay kind when provoked? Can you stay steady when plans collapse? Can you act with courage when fear whispers? These are the real tests of a man. Seneca said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." And it's true. Most of our pain doesn't come from what actually happens. It comes from our resistance to it, our desperate wish that life would be different. We picture a perfect outcome and curse the world when it doesn't deliver. But that perfect outcome was never promised to us. What was promised is choice. The choice to respond with wisdom. The choice to live with virtue. The choice to let go of what we cannot hold. We're not here to control the world. We're here to control how we show up in it. That's what separates the wise from the restless. That's what makes a man truly free. Not freedom from hardship, but freedom from the need to avoid it. So the next time life turns in a way you didn't expect, pause. Don't rush to fix it. Don't panic. Just pause and ask, is this within my control? If the answer is no, let it go. If the answer is yes, then act with reason, not emotion. This is not weakness. This is strength. This is not giving up. This is waking up. Because one day, like all men, we will run out of time. And in that final moment, the only question that will matter is this: did I live wisely? Did I focus on what truly mattered? Did I control myself, even when I couldn't control the world? If we can say yes to that, then we've already won. There comes a time in every man's life when silence speaks louder than anything he has ever said. Not because he has nothing to say, but because he has finally understood that not all truths need to be spoken, not all emotions need to be shown, and not every reaction deserves his energy. A man walks through life carrying many burdens, but the heaviest ones are often invisible. They are the thoughts he never shared, the words he swallowed, the apologies he never gave, and the feelings he buried deep down hoping no one would notice. Over time, these unspoken words build up, not as weight on his back, but as pressure inside his chest. And this pressure, if never released or understood, begins to define the way he sees himself and the world. Most men are never taught how to sit with their feelings. They are told to stay strong, act tough, move on, man up. But strength isn't just about pushing through. Real strength is learning to be still in your discomfort, to observe your mind without judgment, and to allow silence to do what noise never could: heal you. We often regret the things we said in anger. But what hurts more, as the years go by, are the words we never said when it mattered most. The "I forgive you" that never left our lips. The "I need help" we thought was weakness. The "I love you" that pride swallowed whole. And perhaps the most dangerous silence of all is the one we keep with ourselves. The refusal to speak honestly within, to face the truth we already know. In Stoic practice, silence is not weakness. It is power held back with discipline. Epictetus reminded his students that we have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, to listen twice as much as we speak. He wasn't just speaking of conversations with others, but of the inner dialogue we avoid. A Stoic man learns to pause before he speaks, not to please others, but to protect his peace. Every word carries weight. Every silence has a reason. There is a difference between silence born from fear and silence born from understanding. The first holds you hostage. The second sets you free. You have to ask yourself, are you being quiet because you're afraid of confrontation, or because you've risen above it? Too many men confuse loudness with confidence. They believe speaking more means knowing more. But wisdom doesn't boast. Wisdom listens. Wisdom observes. Wisdom lets the world rage and remains unmoved. Marcus Aurelius wrote that we should be like the rock against which the waves crash. It stands still, and the fury of the sea falls around it. This is the kind of silence that Stoicism teaches. Not escape, but presence. Not cowardice, but control. Sometimes the strongest thing you can say is nothing. Not out of spite, not to manipulate, but because you've chosen not to give chaos more fuel. You've chosen peace over pride. You've chosen your inner world over proving yourself to the outer one. We live in a world that pressures men to always have an opinion, always be reactive, always stand their ground. But the Stoic man understands that silence isn't a lack of response. It's the highest form of response when words would only make things worse. It's knowing that not every battle is worth fighting, and not every misunderstanding deserves correction. But silence also requires balance. We must not fall into the trap of hiding in silence. A Stoic does not suppress emotions. He examines them. He questions their roots. He gives them space, but does not let them take over. When the time is right, he speaks, not to release rage, but to express truth. And when no words are necessary, he rests in quiet with clarity. You will face moments when people misjudge your silence. They'll say you're distant, cold, uncaring. Let them. You don't need to explain your every thought. You don't need to defend your calm. What matters most is that you are honest with yourself, that you know why you chose silence, and that your reasons came from strength, not avoidance. Think about the arguments you've had in the past, the ones that ended in regret. Ask yourself, what would have happened if you had taken a breath instead of speaking right away? What if you had chosen stillness over sarcasm, patience over pride? Would the outcome have changed? More importantly, would your peace have remained? The problem with words is they can't be undone. Once spoken, they linger. They echo in minds. They twist in memory. Silence, however, gives you time to think, to weigh your response, to choose with wisdom instead of impulse. Seneca once wrote, "It is a great thing to know the season for speech and the season for silence." This is a lesson many men only learn after years of broken relationships, burned bridges, and internal wounds. Even in daily life, silence can be a powerful mirror. When you're quiet, you begin to notice what others truly think. You hear the lies in casual talk, the fear behind someone's anger, the emptiness behind their confidence. You begin to see through noise, and that vision is a gift. But perhaps the most important silence you will ever face is when you're alone. No distractions, no voices, just you and your thoughts. Most people run from that moment because it reveals things they've been trying to hide. But a man committed to Stoic growth embraces it. He sits with his regrets, his desires, his fears, not to be ruled by them, but to understand them, to strip them of power. Let us not pretend silence is easy. It isn't. It's uncomfortable. It's uncertain. But that discomfort is the doorway to truth. When we stop talking, we start hearing. First others, then ourselves, and finally, life itself. So the next time you're about to react, pause. The next time your pride begs you to speak, wait. Not forever, but just long enough to ask yourself, will these words build, or will they destroy? Will this reaction lead to peace, or just temporary power? Every man must carry the weight of unspoken words. But with wisdom, that weight can become light, not by avoiding expression, but by mastering it. Speak when you must, hold when you should, and remember, silence is not empty. It is full of meaning for those who have the strength to understand it. This is not about being passive. It's about being deliberate. It's about speaking only when words serve the higher goal, truth, virtue, and peace. Because in the end, the man who controls his words controls his world. And the man who understands his silence understands himself. Reclaiming the fortress of the mind. There is one place in the world that no one can enter without your permission. One place that determines the quality of your life, the peace in your heart, and the strength in your soul. That place is your mind. And yet, most men spend their lives guarding money, guarding status, guarding reputation, but never guarding their own thoughts. They leave the doors wide open. They let noise walk in, fear take a seat, and doubt rule the halls. You don't lose control of your life in a single day. You lose it moment by moment. Every time you let an emotion decide for you. Every time you react before you reflect. Every time you let someone else's words turn into your truth. And by the time you notice it, you are no longer the master. You are a servant to your own uncontrolled mind. The Stoics said again and again, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. That is not poetry. That is armor. That is a weapon for the modern man. It means the world can insult you, cheat you, hurt you, abandon you, and yet it cannot touch the deepest part of you unless you hand it over. But if your mind is weak, then all it takes is one small storm to sink the ship. Many of us live like leaves in the wind, tossed around by opinions, thrown off by inconvenience, broken by rejection. But we were not built to be leaves. We were built to be mountains. Still, silent, immovable by anything that is temporary. If your peace depends on how people treat you, how they see you, or how successful you appear, then your peace is already lost. It is rented, not owned. Reclaiming the mind begins with this. Stop feeding it with what weakens it. You cannot keep watching chaos, arguing over noise, and chasing pleasures, and expect your mind to be calm. You cannot scroll through anxiety and call it entertainment. You cannot drink distraction and still hope for clarity. What you feed your thoughts becomes your state of being. Garbage in, confusion out. Discipline in, wisdom out. A man who doesn't rule his mind will always be ruled by something else, by lust, by fear, by greed, by pride. These are not just feelings. These are enemies in disguise. The moment you stop questioning them, they take command. One bad thought, repeated often, becomes a belief. One belief, left unchallenged, becomes a pattern. And one pattern, lived long enough, becomes a prison. But here's the truth they don't teach you in schools. Peace is a choice. Stillness is a skill. And clarity is earned. You train the mind the same way a soldier trains his body. Not when it's convenient. Not just when you're feeling low. But every single day. You wake up and you choose to direct your focus. You train it to return to the present every time it tries to escape. You train it to observe your emotions, not obey them. Seneca once wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." That line alone can change a man's life, because it exposes the secret battlefield, your thoughts. The future hasn't happened. The past cannot return. But your mind lives in both constantly, creating pain that isn't even real. You fear what might happen or regret what already did. Meanwhile, the present moment, the only place where action and change are possible, is ignored. What separates the wise from the restless is not intelligence. It is awareness. Most men live as if their thoughts are facts. They believe every doubt, react to every fear, argue with every insult. But the Stoic man learns to watch his mind like a silent observer. He sees thoughts come and go, like clouds in the sky. He doesn't chase them. He doesn't fight them. He simply watches and decides which ones are worth keeping. And from this practice comes power. Real power. The kind that doesn't show in loud rooms or shiny achievements, but in calm eyes and clear speech. The kind that allows you to walk away from things that once broke you. To breathe calmly in situations that once made you tremble. To say nothing where once you would have shouted. This is not weakness. This is the highest form of strength. But make no mistake, it isn't easy. Reclaiming the mind is a war, and the battlefield is silent. No one sees your struggle. No one applauds your victories. But you will feel the difference. You will notice the space between stimulus and response grow wider. You will catch the lies your mind tries to feed you. You will start making choices from reason, not reaction. And slowly, you will feel something return, yourself. Most people wait for rock bottom to realize their mind is out of control. Don't wait. Don't let years pass before you understand the cost of living as a slave to your thoughts. If you can master this one thing, your mind, then no storm can destroy you. You will face loss, pain, betrayal, and hardship, but you will not fall apart. Because your foundation is no longer outside. It is within. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." That is what it means to reclaim the fortress of the mind. It means building something no one can touch. It means being still in chaos, grounded in change, and whole in a broken world. It means becoming a man who doesn't need to be seen to be strong, because he already knows who he is, and he is no longer afraid to be alone with his thoughts. And so we end this part not with noise, but with silence. Let it sit. Let it echo. Let it guide you back to the place that needs no audience, your inner fortress. And once you rebuild it, guard it, not with walls of pride, but with the quiet strength of a man who has finally remembered how to think for himself.